Okay, so sorry about the glare, everybody. This is the first part of the video. We're going to be doing stock removal. We're going to straighten this half of this lawnmower blade out, and then we'll draw our knife shape that we want on it, and then we'll cut it out. So I'm going to light the forge and we're going to get busy. So thank you. Okay, now it doesn't take that long. We got that pretty flat enough for right now. You know, this is the other side, looked just like that. Flatten that out. We're gonna let this cool in here, and we're going to then, we won't cut this completely off yet, but we will just let it sit here, and we're going to go work on our potato while this cools. So I'm going to set this aside, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do with the forged potato piece. Got to do a little bit of cutting on that one, but we'll talk here about it just for a little bit. So I got this nice bar, round bar here, and I only can see how this could be some sort of rebar. It has these little teeth on the outside of it, so we're going to forge about, I want to get a nice good bar out of this, so I'm going to take and almost cut this in half so I can use it as a handle to hold on to right now. So I'm going to go stick this in the vise, we're going to cut it off and throw it in the fire. Okay, so taking our round tool steel bar, round stock here, down to about 8 inches of flat bar. It's roughly, I mean, there's a little bit thick right here, but you know, we can make do with that. What we'll do is let this cool. By the time we get the other one done, this one will be ready to be cut off, marked, and cut out. So we're going to be making identical knives out of all 4 stages, so you can, they'll be all the same knife, just different prices through different styles. So this is the potato method. Forge a bar, put a stencil, draw a design, cut it out, go to grinding. That's it. So I will reposition everything. We'll get this, the lawnmower blade's cool enough right now. We'll cut it down and put our design on it and go to work. All right. So we have our rough shape knife there. Sorry, the camera keeps jogging back and forth, but there it is. Don't mind this little piece back here. I just extended the hand a little bit. We're gonna have roughly, it's roughly almost like most likely a total length of 7 7 7/8. Have a 4-inch handle on it, with about a 4 7/8 inch cutting edge when we get done with it. And we will do the same thing to the other knife as well, or the other blank as well, and get roughly the same shape. I mean, they're not going to be completely identical. That's why I don't use a lot of patterns. I draw them out there and get them close, and I think every knife should feel different, even though they're roughly the same shape, same length, handle, everything. I like it when there's that little bit of difference in them, because they weren't just cut from a pattern. So I'm going to check on our other stuff and get it cut off and put the stencil on, and then we'll pull up into the inside the shop and reposition everything and start cutting these bad boys out. Great, so just a tidbit smaller than this one, but you know, we're going to try and make these as identical as we can with the rest of the process here. So this has been forged down to about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit thicker than 1/8 of an inch, but we'll get this all cut out, and maybe once we get it cut out, we'll straighten it. We'll play with the straightening of it in the forge again and get it all nice and straight before we go to the grind, because I want to make sure it's a little bit thicker on the back end. So, but that's okay. That's the pommel, so we can have it just a little bit thicker on that back end. Now, I mean, these are small knives, and I might, to make the handles a little bit longer, I might shorten the blades up just a tidbit. But you know, these are roughly, I want to have roughly a 4-inch handle on here, so the blades themselves might be a little shorter, and even having a 4.5 inch is good. Has a good feel, you know, because these are working knives. You don't grab them like that. You're holding on to mainly up here on the blade when you're working with them, you know, or flip them on their spine and working with them that way. So having a lot, we're not really in the age of fighting with knives anymore, so having a really kind of a long handle down here that kind of pokes out a good 5/8 of an inch below your pinky finger doesn't really make a lot of sense. And you know, you don't want something to have with a super long handle on it and then this 4-inch blade on it. It'll just look weird. So when you're making these, you got to take into account aesthetics as well as everything else. So we'll get these things cut out and back in the forge to straighten everything out before we hit the grinders for them. So I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have our, sorry about the fan here, but it's kind of hot. Now we're moved here into the finishing part of the shop, and we fixed a short 2x4 to the bench here, and we're going to, and hopefully it doesn't vibrate too much, and we're going to cut these bad boys out. Now we're going to use a technique where we're going to cut slivers in here, and then we're going to go in and cut those slivers out. So that's what you'll see going on next in hyper speed. So enjoy.
When you go out at night in New York City, all the people want to do is when you hang out in the streets down in San Francisco, all the people say is you're
Okay, so here's our rough shaping knives. Now, next step, we're going to actually clean up the silhouette of these on the grinder. You can see how they fit in the hand right now. It's going to feel a little bit better once we get it all cleaned up on the grinder. And I mean, they're pretty close, you know, give or take, but that's what makes each knife unique. So we're going to head over to the grinding station and clean these up before we put them back in the forge and take all the wobbles out of them. So you can see a little bit of a wobble in that one. This one's pretty good. There's a little one right there, but we'll get over to the grinder station and we'll clean these up before we go back to the forge. All right, we're at the grinding station over here, and I just have 4x36s and a 3x21 that I use. I don't have all the big stuff, and I cut down all my 4x36 belts down to 2x36 to get better bite. But this is what I have. This is my first grinder I have. Modified it heavily with cutouts and everything to get in here when I have handles and everything. But we're gonna clean these bad boys up and get them back in the fire. So. Okay, so here is the rough shaped knife, and this is the potato. It's a little bit, it's thicker. It's gonna have more heft to it. It has a different slightly different profile blade. Still a drop point, and you know, it fits in the hand really nice. It'll be a nice little skinner. And then here's the lawnmower blade. As you can see, a little bit more defined hand, a little bit easier to work with. It's not as thick, as you can see. A little bit slender, more slender profile on the blade. Still a drop point, and but they are relatively close, you know. And I'm not looking to make identicals. We're not making cookie cutters here. So I just want to make a good knife that will go out the door. And these are still really good knives, even though they're stock removal. You know, this knife will probably run about 125, and this knife will probably go for about 60, 65. And this knife only goes more because I forged it out. You know, I didn't forge the shape. I just forged a potato, forged a bar, cut it out, just like I did the lawnmower blade. So what I'm going to do is we're going to call this part 1, and I will see everybody tomorrow. My phone is screaming at me that it is overheated, so I will cut this all together and we'll do part 1, and then we'll go back into the forge and finish these tomorrow. So be on the lookout for this the next few videos, and especially the forge to shape and forge to finish, and then at the end we'll have all knives video, a demonstration video of them, and we'll see what's going on. So thank you much for viewing this first part 1 of stock removal. We'll get to part 2 tomorrow. There might be a part 3 depending on how hot it gets in here. My phone doesn't like it too much. So thank you for viewing, and see you all tomorrow. Take it easy.